The guy you don't think is gonna get a date, the guy you don't think is gonna go far in life, he actually went far in life, right? And I think that's something that's beautiful. Now, as we talk about this, you have to understand I was born in the 90s. So me being born in the 90s is completely different. It is completely different. Um, it's not comparable to somebody that would be born right now. You know, the 90s were phenomenal. The 90s were crazy. It was it was a time of exploring. It was the perfect time to be alive because you had a perfect mixture between nature and video games and shows. The 90s were when media understood that there was money to be made with kid shows. They were trying to do a lot more kid shows. But they also understood that there was money to be made with people with people in general, you know. So they started really doing, for example, McDonald's. They started really putting out like amusement park or toys with the meals. So you would press your parents, right? And with the TV, there was ads. So it was a kind of abundance, right? But it was also there's not a lot to do. The games that we have are not great, so let's go outside and play. You know, it was a perfect mixture between that. It was a perfect mixture between a lot of things. For example, I grew up with Linkin Park with Eminem, right? Now I don't have anything against Ben nowadays, but it's not the same thing, right? And I think the 90s were really different. But I think the thing that was the most different was social media non-existence, right? Non-existence. Believe me not. When I was born, not everybody had internet at home. Not everybody had it, you know? That's how old I am, you know? And social media, I wouldn't see myself growing nowadays with people dissing you in the comments, bullying you, treating fake accounts just like dicks, right? I wouldn't be happy here, you know? So of course there's this that has to take. So for the ADHD, right? And I don't know why. Actually I know why, but today is a day where I'm really ADHD. So we're having a bit more issues, right? With the ADHD. But it's a great thing because it's a perfect example of how far we've come or how little we come. I think I'm matured. I think I got far. But maybe you guys will see video that I did 4 years ago and there's no evolution. I don't know. I don't know. And for me, I'm always biased towards myself because I want myself to succeed. But is that realistic or is just being in denial? I don't know. So growing up with ADHD was complicated because ADHD. I think, and again, bless my parents, but I got my ADHD from my mom, right? I got my ADHD from my mom, but my mom she's on diagnosed, right? So I think possibly my mom has this ADD and I have ADHD, because my mom she won't be able to watch a movie, right? She'll make some snacks, she'll do something else, right? And yeah, and my father is also a person that talks a lot. With my father and I were two people that talks a lot. My mom will need to talk to someone, right? My father is funny because my father will not give a shit about what you think. I'll talk to you 40 minutes about renovation. You're not happy? Fuck you. Not really, but still, you know? But I guess I did that, but they both, the way ADHD was presented to me was an illness. Something very bad, you know? The number of time I was told as a kid, oh, you're being hyperactive again. No shit. I got ADHD, the what do you expect? As a kid, it was this very, very, very weird sense, very weird thing. I remember watching shows, and I could watch shows and play video games for almost a full day, and I wouldn't have this extra energy, right? But the second I stopped over focusing or hyper focusing on things, that's when the ADHD happened, right? That's when the ADHD happened, and again, I think socially speaking, the beautiful thing about being social is society will put in your face what you're doing wrong. If you're an asshole, people will tell you, hey, you're an asshole. Or they'll show you that you're an asshole, right? With me, with the ADHD, it was always a case of you're being too hyper, you're tiring to be around, right? So you have to control yourself, or at least try to control yourself, because you want to be around people, right? How do I speak English so well? My mom, she sent me to a English camp. And if I want to have friends, fuck you, speak English, right? That was the thing. So yeah, so with ADHD, it was always this case, and then you start having Ritalin, right? And the Ritalin was given to me as but it was really changing me. I think recently was worse in Concerta. Because I think what would happen with Ritalin is I've lived 6 years of my life without needing medication. I go to kindergarten and say, oh yeah, your son is really bad, right? So they can take medication, right? And I remember not wanting to take Ritalin because I was different, right? It's not the real me, right? And nowadays, the ID for that was from the show Pop the Balloon, of course, but it was also from people saying, hey, I got ADHD, I'm taking medication. And those are grown beings. Those are grown people. I don't take ADHD medication. Maybe I should, but I don't, right? That's part of me. I don't like medication. But they're still taking it. And the general concept of it is so different. For them, being medicated is normal. Not being medicated is not normal. But for me, not being medicated is normal. This is the real you versus this is you but with a little bit of a pharmaceutical help, right? So you grow up and you're so different, but at the same time, growing up with ADHD was so fantastic, so fantastic because you're being different. You being different makes you have a out of the box look. You have this out of the box look, and you're like, okay, well, oh fuck, I was supposed to do another video. What was the video? Oh yeah, weather. Okay, cool. What was the other video? Oh yeah, weather. Okay, cool. So yeah, so you would see outside of the box, and see today we're really ADHD. You see outside of the box, and you know, and also me being small. I think those two of them together was the perfect combo because some people that could accept maybe an ADHD would make fun of me for being small. People that could accept me for being small would have been making fun of this. So you know, it wasn't a pinpoint. It wasn't constantly the same thing. It wasn't, oh dude, you got this, otherwise you're perfect. It's like, no, you got a lot of flaws, dude. You know? And the two of them I couldn't control. I didn't control having ADHD. I didn't control being little. Right? So it's like, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Right? What the fuck am I supposed to do? So normally went up with these, it was rough, but at the same time, it taught you so many lessons, right? In high school, the same thing. But in high school, I switched education. Education was good. Concerta was good. Concerta was really good because it wasn't to a level where you weren't yourself. It was to a level where I was still lucid, right? And it was good, but again, the height, I was always the smallest, right? I remember, this is what I never told. We were in grade 7, and me and my friend Alex, we were the smallest. Alex was a bit smart, or he was a bit taller than me, a bit taller, not that much. And Alex would come in, and the sophomore, that's Steffi Rott, the sophomore would be like, yo, the senior, I guess, I don't know, the old guy, the old students, they were like, hey, fight, we'll give you cash. And me and him, we would fight, but he would always win because he took karate. I also took karate, but I didn't listen in class, so like fuck, you know. And then he felt bad, so he gave me after the profit, but we still we're making cash, right? And it was ridiculous because it was 25 cents. But at the end of the day, 25 cents, we had it 8 times. I was able to get myself a chocolate chip cookies or a milkshake, you know, or a chocolate milk. And to me, that was worth it, right? But it was always that. In high school, however, it was different. However, it was really different than high school. See, people were more aware of the ADHD, and it's funny because were they more aware of ADHD, or did it shows less? Did it appear or not? You know, kind of things. So that was something that was super different. The height was still a problem because, of course, in high school you started to be having romance, right? Or want to be romantic or think about girls another way of just ew. So that was different. But the hyperactivity and the height. Hyperactivity was possibly less than height, but height was still a problem. But then you got more confidence, you became yourself. In high school, you're able to understand who you are. And who you are isn't ADHD or height, is yourself, right? In the middle of work was one of the worst thing ever. So I had multiple jobs where I didn't tell that was ADHD, right? Because I was like, they'll judge me if I can. So what would happen is in middle school, they would really see that, okay, well, this guy has ADHD. In high school, I didn't have a chance to lie because people from middle school knew me, right? Now, what ended up happening, which was beautiful, was they it wasn't beautiful, it was shitty. What ended up happening was when I went to work, people would still see me like, hey, you know. And even then in high school, I think it was part of the charm. I didn't get a girlfriend, but I knew that people were interested in me, you know. That was cool. In work, I tried to hide it, right? Until I got too comfortable, right? And I told to one job, I said, hey, I got ADHD. And right away you can tell that the way they were seeing me was different. They would see me in a certain fashion, and I wasn't good enough, and I was a weird guy. So of course the job that I had were different, right? But then it played against me. It played against me because when I had my job for 8 years, PCT job, of course I didn't want to talk about. And ultimately speaking, I wasn't being honest because I knew that those job was temporary. I was working for a temp agency job temporary, and then you know, they would already. I apparently told them like I got ADHD, right? And I was like, oh, that makes sense, right? But then they already knew me as being the guy I am, right? And there was no judgment. There was no judgment, and even height, it was not a problem. It was just like, oh, you're too small to get that. Let me help you, you know. And that's the kid years were tough, but then the adult years were fun. And then because I wasn't so much pointed for my flaws, I learned to accept them, right? Like for example, the height. I know I'm small, but then there's so much confidence that came from it. There's so much confidence that it is there. Like in the back of my mind, subconsciously, when I come in and I'm small, right? I'm like, okay, well, I have to deal with that. How can I deal with that and make it like seem like I'm normal, right? Or seem like it's not a big deal. In ADHD, I've learned to see that which people I'm annoying, which people I'm not annoying, right? If I see people that a person that I'm annoying, I'm not gonna be like, okay, well, let's be best fucking friend, right? Ultimately speaking, it also makes you different, right? See, so the height thing is, and the height thing is fun because that made my personality, right? And the ADHD thing was like, okay, well, I learned to live with it versus I need to accept it, right? And it's not about curing it, it's about learning to learn with it. Like today, we got a very bad day for ADHD, but then we're still out here, we're still pushing ourselves to the best we can, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. It's not so much how much it takes away, but it's how much you're able to endure, right? Okay, well, you did a 12-hour shift. But at the end, you were still having a good pace versus somebody that did really good in the first 8 hours, but now he's sleeping, you know? And it's still in the long run. So what was it like growing up with ADHD and being small? It was different. I was always the black sheep, right? But then you learn to be the black sheep, right? And there's something beautiful about being the black sheep and being out of the box is you're allowed to be on the edge, right? People will almost expect you to be on the edge, right? People will almost expect you, you know? And I was doing my bank statements with my stepmom about 2 months ago. And that's when for the first time, so like, well, not the first time, but I was really pissed because she said, oh, there was a situation where I called the guy and the guy was, well, you can tell on the phone he was laughing, he wasn't being professional. But like, fuck you, you're not gonna be professional, I don't have to be professional, right? And I hung up. And she got mad at me because we lost some time. And she's like, oh, your ADHD is showing. And at first I got mad, but then I realized that, yo, when was the last time you said that? It was a while ago. Holy shit, I'm doing good, you know? So, of course it made you different, but you learn to accept that, right? I'm blessed. I grew up with a kid named Guillaume. And Guillaume had a malformation. He only had one finger, you know? And it's not his choice, of course, and my height and my hyperactivity wasn't my choice either. But then you learn that, okay, well, you know what? This makes me different. And with Guillaume, no matter how hard he tries, it will always be judged for that, no matter how hard I try. And it's funny because we're talking about height and ADHD, and you definitely think that ADHD played a larger part of it. But physically speaking, that's the first impression. It is the first impression. I have done interviews for jobs, and they have told me, are you tall enough to reach there? No, you're not. Okay, well, you know. So anyway, that's pretty much it. We'll do another video like that in multiple months with other facts of growing up. And for me, it's hard to talk about my childhood because I don't remember much of it. The ADHD, the Ritalin and the Concerta, which are ADHD medication, are filled with a medication that tranquilize you, right? You're not super there. So basically, how I understand it, and again, I'm not a doctor, please don't take this as cash. But the way I'm understanding the ADHD medication makes you calmer. Because you're calmer, it's easy to hyper focus. Because you're hyper focusing, you're understanding more. Remember when I told you that I was able to watch shows or play video games for the whole day? Right? Because it was interesting. What if you have a medication to make everything interesting? That's what it is. Anyway, love you guys. Take it easy. Peace. Don't blink, it's your boy. Welcome to our show. Everything was having a wonderful day on this on this 11 April 2025. Today the ADHD is up there. Today is my father's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. I wanted to make a video on the weather. I was gonna do it yesterday. How much the weather affect you, and it's funny because you just heard the subject and like no shit, Sherlock's. But at the same time, for somebody, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna be related to that. If you're a gamer and if you don't go out, or you're watching binge watching a season or series, you don't really give a fuck how the weather is outside, right? That's true. Like, okay, well, who gives a shit, right? But then at the same time, I was gonna do this video yesterday, to be honest, because I was happy. I was thinking about how working out more, and being outside more really helped with mental health. But then I was like, you know what? It's obvious. But then I was watching this weather today, which is fucking disgusting. And I woke up almost not depressed, but sad. Like, oh, it's gonna be a shitty day. Dude, the day didn't even start and you're already saying it's gonna be a shitty day. How are you thinking? How are you gonna get through life thinking the way you're doing? Right? And then the reality hit. Okay, well, that video that I was going to do yesterday about weather and how it affects you was a good video after all. It was a good video after all. It was a necessary video after all. Right? And to me, that was beautiful. To me, that was something that was truly important. Because it's not so much how it affects you positively, it's how much it affects you negatively, right? And that is something else. That is completely different. So I'm seeing this weather outside, and I just feel like it's affecting you. You know, and then there's not really a what you call it.